Well, tonight, recovery centers continue to sound the alarm about what they call a dangerous substance and the impact it's having on lives across the First Coast.
And this comes after Florida's Attorney General issued a new emergency rule last week, making 7-OH and related compounds Schedule 1 substances. So investigative reporter Riley Phillips joining us now live in the studio. And so Riley, advocates are now calling for the state legislature to make these regulations permanent.
Yes, the Attorney General's emergency rule is only temporary. In fact, the first emergency rule banning 7-OH filed by the Attorney General last year expires tomorrow. So it's up to the state legislature to make these regulations Florida law, and one Jacksonville lawmaker is taking that on.
It's a move in the right direction.
Nick Padlow, the CEO of Sophros Recovery, is seeing the effects of 7-OH firsthand.
We have had an overdose at our facility and had to use Narcan to bring the person back, and that just shouldn't happen with something you buy at a gas station.
7-OH comes from the kratom leaf. People often use kratom to help with pain or anxiety as a natural alternative to medication, but Padlow says there is nothing natural about the way some of these kratom products are being made.
You might have the kratom leaf, and then you have enhanced kratom. You have kratom with more metragonine, which is the primary active ingredient, and then you have that mixed with 7-OH and a handful of other, really addictive compounds. And so it's very hard to tell where you are on that spectrum of potency.
Those concentrated compounds are at the center of another emergency rule recently signed by Florida's Attorney General James Uthmeier. He warns the state is seeing a rise in people addicted to 7-OH, which is said to mimic the effects of opioids, including opioid withdrawal symptoms. Uthmeier also says overdoses are on the rise, with Florida seeing more than 500 overdose deaths linked to 7-OH since 2013. This new emergency rule places 7-OH and 6 other related compounds as Schedule 1 substances. It also restricts how much these compounds are allowed in kratom products to prevent super concentrated formulas.
I do think that the ban was important, and I think that it goes a long way in taking steps in the right direction, but we really need the legislature to take the next step.
Florida State Representative Dean Black is now leading that charge in the state legislature.
As we started digging into it, we found that this gets very complicated because there are more chemicals involved in this substance than just 7-OH. And if you're not careful, if you don't get the law right, you end up playing whack-a-mole and you don't actually solve the problem.
Black says he will now be working over the summer and into the fall to come up with the best language for this legislation.
If we're going to have this industry, it's got to be pure, it's got to be clean, it's got to be labeled, it's got to be tested. You have to know what you're buying, what you're putting in your body, because right now you have no idea.
And the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services is currently removing 7-OH products from stores across the state. Violators of this new rule can face criminal penalties. Heather.